Could you tell me a little bit more for your tips and advice for pastors and leaders who work with volunteers in their church and their ministry?
Yeah. It's not easy. I've worked with volunteers locally within the local church. I was actually a children's pastor for 7 years before joining YouVersion and getting to be part of volunteers completely online. And it's not always easy because we work with people, and there's a lot of relationship building, and sometimes there's hurt, and it's going to be something that will take a lot of patience. And it's interesting, as you were talking about the scarcity mindset and the abundance. I feel like I felt that with volunteers. There's so many times I'm like, I don't have enough volunteers. And we had to go to that abundant mindset. Like, God's going to send you who needs to be there at the right time. And God is the God of abundance, and he's going to send the right people for your ministry. And I had to begin to step into that instead of thinking like I don't have enough. And it was a complete mindset shift. And what I think I would say is, as you are building volunteer ministries, or if you have volunteer ministries that you're wanting to strengthen, it's making sure that you pour into them, that you take time to really get to know them. How are they doing? Are you connecting them with other people? Are they growing? Because even when it's volunteering, like they are so generously giving their gifts to serve, but it's not something that we want from them. It's something we want for them, right? I love within YouVersion, like when I get to talk with new volunteers, is that really the reason we invite people to join us and want people to serve with us is because we know that God changes our lives when we serve him. Mm-hmm. And it's really casting that vision to your teams of, by taking this step and serving God, sometimes the first person to change is yourself before you get to see life change in other people that you're serving. And it's really important to make sure that people understand the difference that they're making, and reminding them that being part of this team is making a difference. So as you're strengthening, it's building relationships. It's helping cast vision so that they know that they're making a difference. And then I think a lot of times too, there's one of the biggest words I like to use with volunteers is follow up. Like if people, ask for a prayer or they've got something coming up, follow up with them. Let them know that you really care. Like people need to know that they are known on your team, and that they are loved, that they are seen, that they are valued on their team. So really think of that question: how am I bringing value to my volunteers? How, if it's on a Sunday morning when I had, people coming to serve with kids, sometimes I, have a fun game for them because I just wanted them to have fun as they were joining it, and they were going to go serve with 2-year-olds, and it was going to be crazy. Like, I know they're going to get worn out. Like, let's have something fun before they go in there. But something to where they knew, going in there, maybe I would tell a story of a family that came for the very first time at church the week before, and it was their very first time in church, and the child was running out with a giant smile on her face. Like, how amazing for those leaders to know, and those volunteers to know, that them being in this room and serving and helping with the littles in their bathroom breaks and giving them to parents, like that made a difference for that family, because that child can't wait to come back and hear about Jesus. And they're sowing a seed in their heart. So yeah, it's a work in progress, though. I learned something new every day about communicating with volunteers.
A question is, okay, we are over different language, 100 language, and you say, okay, I can understand maybe a little bit Spanish, maybe a little bit Italian, German, but when you go to Hindi, Japan, I really don't know what does this look like. So how do you trust a person to do work in hygiene? Is the English totally different? And how do you trust, because if it's in a paper, you cannot have no idea what it look like. So how do you, tell me about the trust in this type of multiple cultural?
Yeah, practicality kind of thing. Do you have anything?
This is you.
So is it me? Okay. I don't know. You have a lot of experience that globally, so it is interesting because I only speak English. I could probably identify a couple words in Spanish, Latin American Spanish. That's literally probably all I can do. And yes, there's a lot of trust, but there is a lot of, I think when it comes to, like you were saying, some of the languages that don't look familiar at all, we have built great relationships with partnerships where, they do have some beautiful gifts of being bilingual or to help us communicate and to recognize. And it is trusting, but it's also partnering with a lot of people that have those skills that I don't. Again, that goes to just being the church, being a global church, because it's those different gifts that they have. So when you think about, other various languages that, I joined the team and didn't even know some of these things. I thought, oh my goodness, I don't even know how to say this one. And so I've learned so much. And it's because there are people that do have the gifts and skills that will partner with us that truly do help us, say, hey, this, for instance, this translation is perfect. It's great. We have a review team and people come alongside some of our, the content that is specifically submitted from Heart Language communities. That's not even in English at all. So we can't read it, but it's partnering with people that we've built relationships with that do have the skills necessary to help us make those plans happen. And so they'll tell us, this is fantastic, or you know what, I think that this maybe we could work a little bit in editing or helping some of our partners understand maybe our mission. And it all goes down to trust. I don't know if I'm missing anything either.
Well, you're talking about where we are now with 1,000 volunteers and 70 languages and all of that. But it started off with just a person, as we, one of the things we talk about here is move fast and follow momentum. And the way to say that is really following where God is leading. And I think that this team is really, that's been the story if you go back. And so, most of these leaders that are going to be, they're going to be bilingual. So they're able to do it. Then you find trust, it's through a process. And then you learn processes and you have checks and balances. They have, this team is amazing. They have, but it's been built over time as they've seen what's worked and what didn't work, right? Again, that's that communication. And so then they have all the right checks and balances, verifications, as people are translating. And it's all about that in mission, but it's all set in there. So it's not just about Jen, her role is really helping to lead those that are leading others to, and then they have the right and then they have other team members that are helping with that process to be sure it's serving the mission. So all of those things have grown into what is now a well-oiled machine. It's really, really good, but yet they're always asking the question, how can we get better?
Right.
What is not working? What's getting in the way? But that's a part of it. There are steps along the way that help, where you're not just saying, hey, let's go to 70 languages, and all of a sudden
hopefully this is right. That works for us too, because people say oh no, that's not right, and they actually want to volunteer with us. Sure, come and help us, because it is important that we honor Heart Language communities too, and making sure that we put quality work in, and that's where volunteers help make sure and ensure, because they know what it represents, and they want to be sure that what is going into the app for their church to even use, a lot of them use it in their churches, is something that's really going to help people know Jesus further and not distract.